My name is Ray, and I was conned into running a D&D 5e campaign for some friends of mine. These friends were all Destiny players. Well, 3 of them were Destiny players. 2 of them were people that I spent time with in the Air Force in Iceland in 1990, and we'll get to those guys in a second. All online. I decided to run Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I've run it before for several friends, several other groups. Technically, this is my 3rd group, I think, running. Would have preferred to run Pathfinder 2 and learn it. But one of the guys is actually running a campaign, or will be running a campaign for his local friends. And he wanted some experience playing, so, it all works out in the end. And I think we'll get to where I want to be eventually. But I do like Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I think it's one of the better campaigns that Wizards of the Coast has developed. I'm going to give credit to Chris Perkins. I believe he was the lead designer on that one. And I like the characters. There's a lot of good characters in here that I don't particularly like being a DM, but I do it a lot, mainly because I think I'm probably one of the more fair DMs that I've come across over my years and experience playing D&D. I started in 1982 and been playing off and on ever since, and I've played every edition. Played with a bunch of people, and like I said, there are a few that I've played with that I think are awesome. Hope I'm fair. I know I'm tough, and that's cool, I think, and hopefully the players think that it's cool. So the mix of players that I have, like I said, 3 of them come from my Destiny clan. I've been playing Destiny 1 and 2 since it released, and I met 2 of these individuals, 2 of my players, around 2015 when I'm on a little bit later, like 2017. He's a good dude, young dude. He's probably the youngest in the group. Well, I know he's the youngest in the group. It's not probably about it. He is the youngest person in this group. Every person in this group playing D&D is over 50 years old, except for him. So he's in his late 30s, and we forgive him for that, but that's okay. He brings some youth that we probably need in the group. So, with that said, out of the 3 players, the younger one is more experienced with D&D 5, and I believe he's played some 4, and I think he started with 3, which is fine. 3 had its time, and I enjoyed it for what it was, and I played it a lot. Don't want to ever go back to it, though. So, the other guy, he's our Canadian friend, and he plays Pathfinder, and so this is his first 5e experience. And then the young lady that plays with us, that was on the Destiny crew, she is exclusive AD&D 2nd player and game master, so this is her first experience with 5e. Then my last 2 players are 2 individuals that I have been able to reconnect with in the last year or so, that I actually served with when I was in the Air Force in 1990. We were stationed in Iceland together. One came later than the other, and before I met one of them, he was actually there probably for about 5 or 6 months. So I didn't get to spend that much time with him, but we had some good times playing AD&D. The other individual, he came around February of 1990, I believe. And so he's the one I spent more time with. By the time the summer came around, we probably started doing more board games than anything else, because most of the D&D players had already PCS. The first session was Thursday, and we had some technical issues with it. All of them, and the PCs were able to describe themselves. We have Anvil Iron Fist, He's a Asimar Paladin. Then he's the actual Pathfinder 1 player. We have Karn Bladesong, who is a Moon Elf Wizard, planning on going the Bladesinger path. He's the person that wants to play before he runs his group. And then we have the first guy from Iceland. His character is Sadek. It's a human rogue. I'm not sure what path he's planning on going. There's been some talk, maybe Arcane Trickster, but a lot of the paths are really good. And then we have Varen, the Wild Elf Ranger, and she is played by the 2E exclusive D&D player. So 5E is going to be a little shock to her, I think, in a way, but we'll see. Maybe convert her, but really don't care if she converts or not. As long as she's having fun, I'm good. Zendrin, he's played by the second guy that I met in Iceland. He's the actual one that's physically closer to me, and actually he's close enough that we can actually hang out if we so desire, which is cool. I'll be glad. And he's playing a changeling cleric of Gond. So we start the session with them introducing each other to themselves, even though I established early on that they knew each other just from their time prior to the campaign starting, that they existed in Waterdeep. So they've connected and then decided to go to Yawning Portal to hang out. And after the players described each of their characters, I moved into the Tavern Brawl scene, which was interesting. I've run this thing 3 times, and each time it's been a little different depending on the players and how they reacted to what was going on. I think the first group, they pretty much took I'm going to sit back and watch and what's going on. And in that group, I don't think anybody had Yagra Strongfist as a contact. The campaign wants you to start, all the players to start knowing one of 6 individuals that's found around or in the Yawning Portal, and it has some connection to the campaign. And I do not think the first group actually had a connection with Yagra. The second one did, so they got active more, or they got themselves involved in the combat sooner. And then this group actually, right when it started, they wanted involved, mainly because Varen has a contact with, as an ally of Yagra. So she wanted involved immediately, so, obliged. Rolled the initiative, sorted out the order, started the combat, and things went as they did, back and forth. Yagra getting punched in the face, Yagra punching people in the face, Varen moving in she's a bow user, but she actually moved fairly close to Yagra, used her bow, and that's when Karn cast Sleep. And honestly, Sleep was really good back in the day in 2nd edition. It was kind of like in 4th and 3rd. I don't remember people using it that much. But in 5, it's pretty good. And it's better, in my opinion, if people are hurt, like before you cast it, because you can get more people that way, right? It's based on how many, what your current hit points are, and you roll the current hit points. However, the cool thing is the radius and was big enough that it actually got Varen in it, but Varen being a wild elf was immune, so that was cool. Didn't put her to sleep. Area effect really didn't affect anybody. It did not affect Yagra just because she had more hit points, so was able to put one of Krenz's buddies to sleep. Actually, it might have been Krenz himself. I'd have to look at my notes to make sure. But all said and done with the fight and everything, near the end of the second round of combat, all of Krenz and his buddies were decommissioned, and Yagra was still up on her feet. Then the second part of that tavern brawl, fired off. Up comes this big troll, comes climbing up over the edge of the yawning portal entry to Undermountain, and following it were the 9. I believe I described them as 9 red, 6-legged mosquito type creatures that flew up behind it or chasing it, and rolled initiative. Durnan yells, troll, warning everybody exactly what it was, even though I described it. So Durnan yelled exactly what it was, which triggered the things that I was hoping it would trigger, and some of them recognized the fact that, hey, we need to use some fire on it every now and then, which happened. So combat ensued. Eventually, Durnan moved in to fight the troll and keep its attention. So at that point, another unique thing happened with this group that did not happen with the other 2 groups that I ran through. This group concentrated on the trolls and did not concentrate on sturges. I get it. Trolls the bigger threat, supposedly. However, I think the reason that they maybe concentrated on the troll instead of the sturges is because what I did for this fight that I didn't do with the other 2 fights. The other 2 fights we played at home. We kind of did a map, and I kind of did not put a lot of people in the bar with in Yawning Portal with the players, other than the combatants, maybe a couple extras. Durnan as Bonnie the waitress. In this one, because we're playing online, and I had some background noise, music and some background bar tavern music or sounds going on, I threw in a lot of commoners. So more so also to force the players to choose a table close to Yagra and where the bandits were that were going to attack her. I wanted everybody to be fairly close to be able to see what was going on, so I kind of staged that a little bit. However, when the Sturges came up, I just had them attack whoever they could reach on the first move, usually, and those happen to be commoners. So commoners are dropping left and right. They were getting hit, getting their blood sucked, and they were just dropping. And so that allowed the Sturges to move on to the next closest person, which, the Sturge probably took out, I don't know, probably 12, 15 commoners during that time. And I don't know that the players actually saw that as a problem because they weren't getting attacked by them. But then once they started getting attacked by them, they started taking them off because a couple of them got attacked and got attached because they weren't dropping the players on 4 hit points of damage. The commoners were dropping on 4 hit points of damage, so the Sturges were not getting satiated with the blood and then flying away. So that was an interesting difference between this group and the other 2 groups. Fight ended, like I said, once Durnan and they started getting his attacks wound up because he gets 4 attacks with his great sword, and the troll concentrating on him, and then the players throwing some fire at him every now and then. They whittled the troll down pretty fast. I'm pretty sure it was only a couple of rounds passed after the troll came up. Maybe 4 rounds of combat, maybe 5 total. So the fight ends. Durnan thanks the group for helping out. He promises them a free room and drinks for the help. Just say thanks, and then up walks this strangely dressed man with a floppy hat, and introduces himself as Volo. He pulls a party into a private room so they could talk, and that's when Volo offers the group the job to find his friend Floon Blagmar. This group, they decided to negotiate, and up steps Anvil, the paladin with his pretty awesome charisma. He rolls persuasion, and he gets a high roll. So Volo's like, okay, yeah, I'll pay you whatever you want. He didn't care. So they move on. So they already know what the initial offer is of 10 gold pieces each, which 10 gold pieces per player. And he goes, yeah, I'll agree. I don't care. I'll pay you whatever you want. Just go find my friend Floon. Here's the 10 gold pieces each, and let's go. Well, Zendrin decides, he's the cleric of Gond, who's also a charlatan. He's like, yeah, he says, that's weird. He said he didn't bother negotiating an exact amount. So he goes, can I insight him? And I said, sure. He rolls the insight. Zendrin, he was successful with his insight. And he learns that Volo was telling the truth about his friend, was telling the truth, here's the 10 gold pieces each. What he wasn't really telling the truth on, he was kind of avoiding, was exactly how much he could pay the group. Anything, I'll give you anything, whatever you want, I don't care, just find a friend. It wasn't the truth. That part wasn't, he was being deceptive on that part. So then Zendrin decides, hey, we need to explore this a little further. And so they start asking questions, the party does. Volo comes clean and tells them, says, look, I really running short on money right now. He says, the the money from my royalties from Volo's Guide to the Monsters is kind of slow. I'm in the process of writing a new book. He said, I really running short of cash. He said, so I don't really have a whole lot to pay you guys. He said, but what I do have to pay you, he said, I got this deed to this tavern. I'll sign it over to you. So they're like, oh, well, that's neat. How about this? We'll take the 10 gold pieces each initially. When we find your friend Floon, we'll take the tavern deed, but we also want an autographed copy of Volo's Guide to Monsters. So Volo's like, done. Yeah, we'll do it. Just find my friend. Thanks. So they struck the deal. They started breaking up. Party wanted to go search the bodies, but in the meantime, while they were talking with Volo, the city watch shows up and basically questions everybody in the bar except for the players and Volo. Durnan was kind of running interference on that part. And then, so in the end result, the party did not get to search the bodies of Krenz and his friends, did not get to figure out any loot there, if there was any, and did not discover who they were, which could be important later, but there's other opportunities for them to figure out who these people are and kind of what's going on. So they decided that, hey, we're running low on spell slots, some of us are really hurt, let's go ahead and take a long rest in the room that Durnan has given us, and yeah, so I allowed it. I said, okay, sure. I said, now in the end, that means Floon's going to be gone for 3 days once they start their investigation, but I don't think it really matters. I also allowed them, went ahead and gave them the XP from the encounter, which by the book it doesn't allow. It tells you to do it at the end of that chapter. I went ahead and gave it to them since they were doing a long rest. So they basically had enough for everybody to be second level, which doesn't really change much in this part of the campaign. And it really won't change much because by the time they get to the end of chapter 1, there won't, if I remember right, there won't be enough XP for them to be third level yet, so they'll have to do chapter 2 in order to get to third level. And it won't be enough to get to fourth in chapter 2, but all said and done, I thought it was a good night, depending, even with the technical problems. I think everybody's trying to get to know each other. I'm trying to reconnect with 2 pals, and I didn't really DM that much up in Iceland. We had a really good DM that did DM'd all the time. A couple other people, DM'd. And so that's what we did. So these two guys don't really know much about me as a game master, other than we ran a brief Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles campaign where I had they were a group of cats, and I didn't think I was having much. I didn't think it was all that great. But when we stopped after a couple weeks later, months later, the people were like, "Hey, when are we going to start this back up again? We really liked it." So that was good to hear, honestly. I don't think I hear that enough from groups, but maybe I'm not that good. I don't know. So only they know, but I do know that I can usually get a group together, maintain it, and the person that usually gets bored first is me. But that just could be because I want to play more, but I really don't. I'm really picky about the DM. I have to trust them, and a lot of times I don't trust the DM, and they usually give me good reason. So I hope these players trust me, even though I will make it hard on them. They will be hard, especially I like tactical combat, and I play smart people smart. A lot of people on Reddit, probably watching this video, will look at me when I tell them an intelligence creature. If you keep healing people to get them by middle combat, intelligent combatant will make sure that they stay down. And that's what I'll do from time to time. A lot of people tell me that's a dick move. No, I don't think so. I think it's a smart move sometimes. Not all the time, but smart sometimes. And it works. First group, I was running through Dragon Heist. There was a chase scene, and this one guy would not back off, and so the person running had separated him from the rest of the group because the rest of the group, they were either started late on the chase or they were just kept losing the rolls, kept getting further behind. So the person being chased basically stopped or hid in a location, challenged the other guy to a brief fight, got him down to 0, and then proceeded to roll him off the roof they were on onto the ground, which splat. 2 death saves failed automatically. The rest of the party caught up, and they had a decision to make. We got to go down and rescue him, or we got to continue the chase. They chose to rescue their buddy, which was the smart move in my opinion, which justifies what I just said. Sometimes it's good to make sure you do the dick move if you're an intelligent creature who wants to live. And that's what this guy did. So that was a previous group. This group didn't make it that far yet. I'm excited for this group to see how they do the investigation. But overall, like I said, we're near the beginning of this campaign starting. So overall, I hope they had fun. We really didn't have time to talk about it afterwards. I think one of them sent me a Discord message saying, "Hey, good job. Can't wait till next week," or something to that effect. I'll take that as positive feedback. The rest, I haven't really gotten any feedback. Haven't asked for it. I'm sure if they see this video, they will provide it to me. And maybe we can arrange a day to right after our sessions to talk about it. Say, hey, how things go, what did you like, what you didn't like. We really don't have that much time because we're playing on a Thursday night and we're playing late. We got a guy on the East Coast who has to work the next day, so his drop dead time is around midnight his time. So I understand that he ain't gonna stick around to give a feedback session, but maybe we can arrange a different day, like the next day or something. We'll see. It's up to them. But that's it for this campaign diary to steal from Matt Colville, or campaign update, however you want to look at it. So thanks for watching this video. You can leave comments in the doobly-doo, and I'll be looking forward to it.